Guizhou's 60-year-old bridge collapses into river. Not giving up your seat, elderly man beats up young man on subway. Rushing to exit China, HP joins the exodus. Man reports his own fraud of millions, wants to be imprisoned quickly. Disgusting, thousands of cockroaches found in Hangzhou restaurant kitchen. On August 8th, a terrifying collapse occurred at Longting Bridge in Guizhou, with the bridge breaking into 3 sections and plunging into the river. Witnesses were left in shock, exclaiming, "How terrifying." Fortunately, on August 7th, local police had issued an urgent notice after cracks were discovered on the bridge, implementing temporary traffic controls to ensure vehicle safety, which prevented any casualties. Local residents were initially concerned only about minor cracks, but were shocked when the bridge completely collapsed the following day. In response to the incident, the Public Security and Traffic Police Brigade of Sansui County stated that the bridge was built in the 1960s and would certainly need to be reconstructed. The next steps depend on how the government addresses the issue. Longting Bridge, which was constructed in the 1960s, was later revealed to have no reinforced steel in its structure, being made entirely of bricks and earth. The fact that the bridge collapsed in clear weather has raised serious concerns about potential corruption and negligence. Even for a bridge built in the 1960s, such severe structural failures under normal conditions should not occur. Commentators have remarked that bridges should symbolize safety, but now they have become potential threats. The collapse of Longting Bridge not only represents a failure in infrastructure, but also exposes the widespread corruption and substandard construction projects under the CCP's regime. This corruption not only drains national wealth, but also endangers the lives of citizens. As time goes on, more bridges, buildings, and roads may become vulnerable due to years of corruption and shoddy workmanship, turning them into nightmares for the public. The safety of the people is threatened by low-quality construction and inadequate oversight, leaving ordinary citizens as the ultimate victims. No matter how grand or towering the buildings, they are mere shells of crises unless corruption is fully exposed and genuine fairness and transparency are pursued to prevent further tragedies. In recent days, the Longting Bridge collapse has not been the only such incident. On August 9th, a road collapse occurred within the Shihuayuan residential area in Lanzhou, Gansu province, drawing public attention. Videos show the collapse site near buildings, with vehicles falling into the sinkhole. A nearby shop owner mentioned that the ground under building number 3 collapsed around 4 or 5 a.m., causing 3 vehicles to fall into the deep pit. The collapse was confirmed by an official from a Shiyuan subdistrict office of Qilihe district in Lanzhou, who stated that personnel from various departments had been dispatched to the scene, and repair work was underway. Due to the large number of affected residents, it was difficult to relocate them to hotels, so they were instead encouraged to temporarily stay with relatives and friends. Precautions, including barricades, were put in place around the collapse site to ensure the safety of lives and property. When asked about the cause of the collapse, an official from Qilihe district government explained that aging rainwater and sewage pipes had caused water to seep underground, leading to damp ground and the eventual collapse. The official noted that local leaders were on site to oversee the repairs, though the timeline for completion remains unclear. Additionally, on the evening of August 7th, part of an ancient city wall near Wanliu Park in Shanhua district, Zhangjiakou, Hebei province, also collapsed. Videos show a section of the wall, about 20 meters long, breaking and sliding downward, with the underlying yellow soil exposed. A resident under the pseudonym Mr. Zong told reporters that he saw the collapsed wall around 8 p.m. on August 7th, though he did not witness the collapse itself. Some locals reported that it was the newly repaired wall that collapsed, revealing the original ancient wall underneath. On the afternoon of August 8th, a reporter from Dawan News interviewed the Zhangjiakou Shanhua District Cultural Relics Management Office, where staff confirmed the incident but noted that no casualties were reported. The cause of the collapse is believed to be related to the recent heavy rainfall, and an investigation is ongoing. The staff did not provide a direct response to whether the collapsed wall was part of the original structure or a later restoration. On August 7th in Qingdao, Shandong province, a disturbing incident occurred on the subway where an elderly man violently assaulted a young passenger, repeatedly striking him and aggressively smothering his mouth and nose, seemingly intent on causing serious harm. Despite the young man's efforts to defend himself, he was overpowered by the elderly man. Passersby, fearing they might get involved, kept their distance and no one intervened. In the aftermath, shocked onlookers interviewed the young man who had been assaulted. When asked by several women if he had been bullied, the young man smiled and said, "The old man was angry because I didn't give up my seat to him. I only give up my seat to women, so why should I give it to him?" When asked if he was bleeding after the beating, the young man confirmed, "Yes, I was." This act was widely condemned as uncivilized behavior. Comments flooded in, questioning why the situation couldn't have been resolved peacefully, and noting that the elderly man appeared strong and not in need of a seat. Some also criticized the bystanders for their apathy, with one netizen remarking, "So many people watched, yet no one stepped in to help. Some men nearby were even laughing." Another commented, "This just reflects the true nature of a society where the strong prey on the weak. There's no need to be surprised, it's just people's true character coming to light." A similar incident occurred on June 24th of this year on Beijing Subway Line 10, where an elderly man forcefully demanded that a young woman give up her seat. In that case, the subway staff tried to mediate, but the elderly man persistently argued with the woman, saying, "I asked if you could let me sit. What's wrong with that? I'm not forcing you to give up your seat to an elderly person." He was pointing at her aggressively. The situation escalated when the elderly man shoved the woman's hand, striking her mouth in the process. The woman responded, "Don't touch me, I can give up my seat to someone else, just not to you." The elderly man became increasingly agitated and started smacking his cane between the woman's legs and shouting, "Report me to the police. Let's go to the station. You say I'm harassing you?" Following the incident, the elderly man was placed under administrative detention. However, the online response remained intense. Netizens expressed disappointment with the bystanders, particularly the men, questioning why no one intervened to protect the young woman, even verbally. Some commenters harshly criticized the man's actions, calling it blatant public harassment and criticizing his lack of respect for his age, noting that such behavior disgraces the elderly and tarnishes their reputation. One notes the red flag on his hat and guessed that he was probably part of the Red Guards back in the days. One netizen remarked, "It's not that old people have become bad, but that bad people have grown old." The term Red Guards refers to a group of people during the Chinese Cultural Revolution in 1966 who were involved in destroying cultural relics and persecuting others. The influence of that period is cited as a reason why some elderly individuals in China today display uncivilized behavior. In another incident, a woman on the Chinese social media platform Red recounted an unsettling experience on a flight from Baotou, Inner Mongolia, to Shanghai. Seated in front of her was an elderly woman with her two young grandsons. During the meal service, the woman noticed a foul odor emanating from the seat ahead. It turned out that one of the young boys had defecated in his seat, with the grandmother catching the waste in a plastic bag. When flight attendants advised her to use the restroom, the grandmother nonchalantly replied that it wasn't necessary, as the child had already urinated in a bottle. She even requested the attendants to dispose of the waste for her. The woman later wrote in her post, "I didn't know whether to swallow or spit out my food. It felt like eating in a bathroom." Netizens expressed their disgust, with one noting, "Only dogs can relieve themselves outside of a restroom," while others questioned why the grandmother didn't use the restroom, describing the incident as incomprehensible. In recent years, incidents involving elderly individuals smoking in public, cutting in line, occupying seats, and publicly berating others have frequently made headlines. Commentators have linked such behavior to the inadequate education received by those who grew up during the Cultural Revolution. During that time, many students only completed education up to middle school, with the quality of education being poor, focusing mainly on reciting Mao Zedong's quotes rather than acquiring solid knowledge. This has resulted in a generation with low cultural and intellectual levels, lacking in critical thinking and empathy. Influenced by the coarse culture of the era, their moral character is also seen as lacking, with uncivilized behavior often viewed as a sign of strength. Experts have also observed that the generation born in the 1950s is arguably the least refined among China's current population. This could be a root cause of many of the country's modern-day problems. Their formative years, marked by indoctrination, have left them distanced from modern civilization. Recently, Nikkei Asia reported, citing informed sources, that Hewlett-Packard HP, the multinational technology company headquartered in California, is planning to relocate more than half its computer production lines out of China. Sources indicate that HP is currently in discussions with suppliers and plans to complete the production line transfer within 2 or 3 years. The company has set an internal target to eventually move 70% of its laptop production out of mainland China, with Thailand being the primary destination. Currently, at least 5 HP suppliers are building new manufacturing facilities or warehouses in Thailand, with 2 of them having increased production capacity at HP's request since the beginning of this year. Meanwhile, internal reports suggest that HP is hiring around 200 engineers and professionals in Singapore, including electrical and mechanical engineers as well as supply chain experts. This move is aimed at creating a backup team for its flagship Taiwan Design Center, primarily responsible for the heavy workload of new product development and supply chain coordination, especially in light of potential risks related to cross-strait tensions. For decades, HP and its suppliers have established an extensive network in China, making Chongqing one of the world's leading exporters of personal computers. According to research firm IDC, HP shipped approximately 52 million personal computers in 2023, second only to Lenovo. However, this withdrawal marks a significant shift in the company's long-standing support for Chinese manufacturing. Reports indicate that during internal discussions this year, several HP executives emphasized emerging opportunities in Southeast Asia and the Middle East, while also pointing out the geopolitical risks of keeping production centers in China. Jeff Lin, a technology analyst at Omdia specializing in the personal computer industry, stated, "From our supply chain research, we have indeed observed that HP and Dell are taking their diversification plans to move out of China more seriously. For them, the concept of de-risking is becoming increasingly important in future supply chain strategies." Commenting on the development, Professor Xie Tian from the School of Business at the University of South Carolina, Aiken, analyzed that HP's production line shift is part of the broader trend of global supply chains moving away from China. He noted that HP's plan seems extensive, with a first step involving a 50% shift, potentially followed by a 70% relocation. Eventually, products destined for markets outside of China may be produced in Thailand, Singapore, or other locations. Professor Xie also pointed out that not just AP, but many Western companies are now leaving China. The era of China being the world's factory is likely over for good. It's not just HP that is accelerating its departure from China amid escalating US-China tech war. Many large companies are following suit. In May of this year, news spread across Chinese social media that Microsoft was planning to relocate some of its employees overseas. According to the Wall Street Journal, Microsoft plans to transfer 800 Chinese engineers to work abroad, with destinations including the US, Australia, New Zealand, and Europe's tech hub, Ireland. Like other major US tech companies, Microsoft has also established a branch in Dublin. In 2023, Dell announced that it would gradually exit the Chinese market due to international trade tensions and increasing competition within China, reallocating resources to other regions with higher growth potential. Apple began implementing its plan to withdraw from China back in 2019 when Huawei was sanctioned. Sources reveal that Apple and its suppliers aim to produce over 50 million iPhones in India within the next 2 or 3 years, with plans to increase production annually. The exodus of these tech giants has sparked concern that days of unemployment in China's tech sector may be on the horizon. In a surprising turn of events, a man recently reported himself online for defrauding a bank of 10.7 million yuan, approximately $1.5 million, in loans, claiming that he had already turned himself in 5 years ago. This case has drawn significant attention on Chinese social media. On August 7th, a man identifying himself as Li Jianhui filmed a video outside the Xianyang Audit Center of the Shaanxi Rural Credit Cooperative, where he publicly confessed to his crimes. In the video, Li stated, "Hello everyone, today is August 7, 2024. I, Li Jianhui, am reporting myself for committing fraud by forging official seals, issuing fake invoices, and falsifying financial statements to defraud the Shaanxi Xianyang Rural Commercial Bank of 10.7 million yuan. I ask for the public support to bring me to justice. Over the past 5 years, since I turned myself in, the authorities have used various methods to suppress me, preventing me from repaying the 10.7 million yuan. Thank you for your support in helping me return this money to the state and the people." Li also displayed a response letter from the Xianyang prosecutor's office, dated July 2023, stating that his case had been forwarded to the local Communist Party's Discipline Inspection Commission for further review. Li claimed that he had been self-reporting online for the past 3 months and had turned himself in 5 years ago, but the authorities had yet to respond. This act of self-reporting quickly sparked curiosity among netizens. Some questioned his motives, to which he replied that he wanted to go to prison. Others speculated that his personal safety might be at risk, and he responded, "I've already written my will." There's also speculation that Li may have been unknowingly involved in a passive loan scheme by the bank, and his self-reporting may be an attempt to draw attention to the officials implicated in this fraud case. The authorities' reluctance to address his report could indicate fears of exposing further corruption. Commentators believe there is a strong possibility that Li was coerced into the loan, as similar cases have occurred in the past. Last year, in a village in Henan province, 100 villagers were inexplicably saddled with loans totaling over 100 million yuan. The bank's response was that the loan procedures were compliant, and they urged the villagers to repay the money quickly. In another case, a customer manager at the Shunyi County Rural Credit Cooperative in Xinyang, Shanxi, used the identities of dozens of farmers to take out loans totaling over 7 million yuan, which he then squandered. Many villagers were suddenly burdened with massive loans without their knowledge. Similarly, in Yijun County, Tongchuan, Shanxi, a woman named Mrs. Li discovered she had mysteriously taken out 3 loans at the county's rural credit cooperative. Despite reporting the issue to the police, no action was taken until the loans were secretly repaid after she exposed the situation online and in the media. Recently, concerns about food safety in China have been highlighted as a shocking incident in Hangzhou, Zhejiang province came to light. Ms. Hu, a local resident, exposed the appalling sanitary conditions of a light meal kitchen where she discovered an infestation of cockroaches. Ms. Hu recorded a video showing a live cockroach crawling in a corner of a kitchen and said, "I just saw a live cockroach crawling in the corner, and I filmed it for evidence. There are hundreds of cockroaches here all over this place." After lifting a plastic crate, she was shocked to find even more, exclaiming, "There aren't just hundreds, there could be tens of thousands of cockroaches crawling here." According to Ms. Hu, she had been resting at home due to illness. On the afternoon of August 6 around 3 p.m., she ordered a meal consisting of white-cut chicken, vegetables from the restaurant, light foodism, Chinese healthy cuisine. She chose this restaurant because the pictures of the food looked very clean and appealing. Because the restaurant was some distance from her home, the meal arrived after some time, and she found the chicken to be overly salty, so she discarded it after one bite. She suggested to the restaurant that the chicken and dipping sauce be packaged separately, but the restaurant responded with a harsh attitude, which further angered Ms. Hu. After a dispute, Ms. Hu left the negative review. Ms. Hu initially thought that it would be the end of it, but the restaurant called to insult her. Upset, she went to the light foodism Chinese healthy cuisine branch in Xintiandi around 8 p.m. on August 6 to confront the owner. The owner was not present, but she observed that the restaurant was disorganized, with raw and cooked food stored together, grease on the walls near the sink, and staff smoking in the kitchen. Seeing that the food she had eaten was prepared in such an environment, Ms. Hu called the mayor's hotline to file a complaint. The restaurant manager called again to insult her. Later that evening at 8:30 p.m., she visited another branch of the restaurant on Qingchun Road. In a corner of the kitchen, she initially saw one cockroach and filmed it. However, in a vegetable container, she found a large number of cockroaches crawling around and recorded it to post it online. After the incident was exposed, local market supervision officials informed reporters that both branches of the restaurant have been ordered to suspend operations for rectification, and further actions would be taken based on the investigation's findings. The restaurant's management stated that they would take the lesson seriously and thoroughly rectify the issues. Food safety in China continues to be a major concern, particularly in Zhejiang province, where cockroach-related incidents have sparked public worry. Last year, a Zhejiang resident found a cockroach in a zongzi and sarcastically called it a cockroach zongzi. In another incident, a chef at Dajing Middle School in Yuqing, Zhejiang province, accidentally allowed a cockroach to mix into a dish he was preparing in the school cafeteria. The cockroach was later discovered by a student while eating.